Hollywood still continues its persistence with the use of AI in several projects. Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Disney could not be reached for a comment, instead switching all of their newscasters with this Stephen Hawking voice you hear now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
In related news,
What the scallop?
So, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4 exists. I never thought I'd see the day, especially after waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 for so long. There's a lot I could talk about with the game based on what we've been shown so far, but for now I'll just say that I'm really excited. And more than anything, I'm looking forward to finally seeing the next phase of the Kingdom Hearts story take off, in what is now officially being called the Lost Master Arc, similar to how Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3 was called the Dark Seeker Saga. What's interesting though is that, depending on who you ask, this Lost Master arc actually started a few games ago. When SquareEnix and Tetsuya Nomura were teasing the quote second phase of the Kingdom Hearts series, it was indicated that this new arc surprisingly started with Kingdom Hearts 3's DLC expansion, Remind. While not entirely a new game, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind was meant to enhance and expand on a handful of elements in vanilla Kingdom Hearts 3, with new combat mechanics and challenges, and giving important context to scenes on top of layering on a fair amount of new story content. And while it received positive reception from fans after it came out, even from people that were initially lukewarm on the original version of Kingdom Hearts 3, almost everyone still had the same reaction walking away from this DLC.
Why wasn't it all there from the start?
This was a driving factor for me personally when I started work on the rewriting Kingdom Hearts 3 series, as I really wanted to integrate a lot of those elements from Remind back into Kingdom Hearts 3's base story. That said, with all of the elements that I've now changed to Kingdom Hearts 3's story, there's still a lot of stuff left over from the Remind DLC that I had ideas that I could offer the rewrite spin on. And because so many of you guys in the comments section have expressed interest in seeing a continuation of the story that I told in my rewrite, that's what we're gonna do. As a final epilogue to this series, we're going to detail how I would change the rest of the Remind DLC, specifically Limit Cut and the Secret episode, to fit within what we've established as our new version of Kingdom Hearts 3. And as a fun bonus, as well as for reasons I'll get into later, we'll briefly take a look at Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory to officially close the loop on this rewrite so that, hypothetically, everything going forward with the series and the Lost Master arc could stay relatively the same from here on out. Now with all that said, I will say up front that our rule from all the way back in part 1 of this series of me not changing the game's overall story structure, I will admit isn't going to be totally enforced this time around. While we're still going to be sticking close to plot details that Nomura establishes in Remind and I'm sure are going to carry over to Kingdom Hearts 4, there are going to be massive shakeups in how this information is presented. The goal here ultimately is to simplify the information that's been given to players while also focusing less on universe-altering lore and more specifically on what I, and I'm sure many other Kingdom Hearts fans, find more compelling about the series, the characters and their specific arcs. There is a lot of setup needed for this next chapter of the story, and we should set the stage in the best way possible. So, with all that out of the way, let's not waste any further time and dive right in. Get cozy, grab your controller of choice, and let's begin rewriting Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, there is one tiny change I want to make up front, and that is the name. Because we've incorporated so many elements from the original main scenario of the DLC into Kingdom Hearts 3's story, the name Remind, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. And again, when does a Kingdom Hearts title, am I right, fellas? So, what do we call it instead? Originally, I was just going to settle on calling it Limit Cut Expansion, as Limit Cut now takes top billing of this DLC as the main attraction. However, because this DLC is now being treated as an extension of Kingdom Hearts 3's ending that's going to lead into the next saga, another name came to mind that I thought would fit really well. So from here on out, we're going to be referring to this DLC by its new title, Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Chapter Epilogue.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into our rewrite proper, starting with our first episode, Limit Cut.
So, the original version of Limit Cut takes place 1 year after Kingdom Hearts 3, and a bunch of characters are running around trying to figure out how to solve the problem of Sora's disappearance. Riku specifically pays a visit to the Radiant Garden Restoration Committee, where they find recreated data of the organization, which leads to the gauntlet of super bosses for a data version of Sora to fight.
That is no longer the plot. Kind of. Okay, let me explain.
The data org fights are obviously still going to be the crux of Limit Cut, that part's not changing. But the framing device is what we're going to make one major change to. That change being, instead of taking place after Kingdom Hearts 3, Limit Cut now takes place during Kingdom Hearts 3.
What?
Confusing, I know, but let me break it down for you. Instead of following Riku tracing clues, the narrative will now act as Sora, Donald, and Goofy's official visit to Radiant Garden. A lot of people were pretty bummed that you never get to visit this world in the base game, so we're going to rectify that, even if it's still in a limited capacity. As for a timeline of when this narrative is supposed to take place, it would be set after the last Disney World that the characters would visit, but before their trip to the Realm of Darkness. Or if you want an even better visualization, it would be set between part 2 and 3 of this rewrite.
So now the narrative goes like such.
Sora, Donald, and Goofy get a call from Chip and Dale that the Restoration Committee in Radiant Garden may have some new information for the crew to look over. So the trio head over to the world to check it out, leading to a huge reunion with the Final Fantasy cast. Leon, Aerith, Yuffie, and Sid are all here for everyone to gush over. It was a little upsetting to know that the Final Fantasy characters would be stripped out of Kingdom Hearts 3, even though I do understand Nomura's reasoning for it. That said, I am glad that they came back for this DLC, as Kingdom Hearts does feel bare bones without the other SquareEnix element that helped make the series what it is. Anyway, after everyone plays catch up on stuff that's going on, Sid explains that while perusing leftover files from Ansem the Wise's crew, they came across data that resembled the organization. However, they couldn't access it due to the major security blocking them from uncovering whatever the data had stored. Sora decides to volunteer to go into the computer and take care of it personally. This would be done via a Tron-esque digitizer similar to the one that Ansem's study has, but more compact that fits inside Merlin's house. And inside the computer, Sora is now faced with 13 pods in the digitized Garden of Assemblage, and can now officially take on the data versions of the organization. It was so exciting to know that data fights from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix would be making a return, as they were some of the best post-game content in the series, offering a fun new challenge for players to engage with. And in Limit Cut, that challenge returns in spades with, honestly, some of the best boss designs that Osaka team has made to this point. It's seriously impressive to look at how far the team who made these monstrosities in Birth by Sleep have come, cranking out a bunch of new satisfying boss battles. And all the bosses stay exactly as they do originally in Limit Cut, including unlocking both Xion and Master Xehanort as the last two after beating the others. However, despite all of that being the same, there is a massive change we're making to the final bit of the story. After beating all 13 organization data, Sora will exit the computer, to which everyone will ask if he found anything. Sora laments that nothing of value was there, but at least he knows how to prepare to face the organization when the time comes. But then, the front door bursts open, and everyone is shocked to see standing there, Tifa.
Oh damn.
She says there's no time to explain and that everyone needs to follow her to the main square, which Sora can do after the player decides to save their game. In the town square, everyone is shocked to see a bright portal of light in the center of the square, and after a few moments, a figure flies out of the portal and lands on the steps in front of the group, revealed to be a battered and bruised Cloud Strife.
Oh damn.
Sora, shocked, is the first to run to Cloud's side to see if he's okay, before turning his gaze to the portal. The light around it fades from light to swirls of darkness that disappear to reveal another figure, with silver hair and a long sword that grins at our heroes.
Good to see you, Sora.
Oh damn.
Sora! Run! Get out of here!
Poor Cloud, still thinking you can escape what haunts you. No matter where you run to, or how hard you try to fight back, you and I are destined to be in constant combat. Forever.
Sora seethes for a moment before stepping towards Sephiroth, claiming that he won't hurt Cloud anymore, when Cloud has his friends by his side. Sora then summons his Keyblade, which Sephiroth can't help but smirk at.
Predictably naive. But from you, Sora, I would expect nothing less. Perhaps Cloud needs a reminder of what happens when others fight his battles for him.
Sephiroth takes his battle stance as force fields light up around the area. Sora stares down the one-winged angel as we commence Limit Cut's final boss against Sephiroth. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I have a way that I can actually portray this through gameplay. Give me 1 sec. This is a real image I'm looking at right now. How did this happen? How? Both Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 have established Sephiroth as a staple optional boss in the series, with Final Fantasy VII in particular having representation everywhere from the cast of characters to pieces of its lore sprinkled throughout the games. With Sephiroth not showing up in Kingdom Hearts 3, it was a major shock, as even in Kingdom Hearts 2, with all of its limited post-game material pre-final mix, Nomura knew to include him as a boss fight, and with Limit Cut placing such a big emphasis on the returning Final Fantasy cast, it made way too much sense to finally place Cloud and Sephiroth's conflict back into the story in a way that it could take center stage. And yeah, all the typical tricks from his previous fights are here and amped up to the max. The Dark Balls, Firewalls, and the ever-infamous Descend Heartless Angel. One other fun bit of gameplay I thought would be neat is whenever the player activates a Keyblade transformation, Sephiroth would immediately activate his Desperation move, doing his own form change into his final form from Final Fantasy VII. He'd then be hurling small meteors at Sora, who would have to chip away at his armor health bar to knock him out of it and continue the fight. Just a small little challenge to keep the players on their toes. Also, as an added middle finger, he repeats this for every Keyblade transformation, but it keeps getting harder. In the end, the fight culminates until Sora finally beats Sephiroth, who drops to his knees briefly.
Once again, you continue to surprise me. But it's as I told you before. Only Cloud can eliminate me. Impressive. Where did you find this strength?
Like I'm about to tell you.
Your confidence is misplaced, Cloud. What makes you think you can end this fight?
Because this time, I know I'm not alone. Not anymore.
Sora and Cloud engage in one last bout with Sephiroth, doing their best to overpower him. Sephiroth, however, manages to keep up with the two heroes, but he can sense that Cloud is getting stronger, throwing him off his balance. Sephiroth pushes the two away and floats toward the sky, to which Sora gives Cloud a boost to go after him. The two clash blades again before a bright light overcomes Cloud, finally shaking Sephiroth's demeanor. Cloud, now with a confident smirk, releases the other blades from his Buster Sword, ripping the bandages away and omni-slashing Sephiroth until the two land on the ground, with Cloud victorious.
I see it now. Those you cherish most. Perhaps there's a little light left in you after all.
Stay where you belong, Sephiroth. In my memories.
I will never be a memory.
And just like that, Sephiroth finally fades away, as Cloud stands triumphant from conquering his darkness. In the background, Sora takes this opportunity to seal the world's keyhole, and the others recognize that it's time for the trio to be on their way. Before they go, Cloud takes the opportunity to thank Sora for all his help, not just now, but ever since they met, for believing that he'd find his light. Sora tells him that Cloud always had it in him, and that when you believe and have faith in those around you, you can conquer even the deepest darkness. Cloud, for what feels like the first time, warmly smiles toward the boy as the two shake hands.
And that's Limit Cut, essentially a Final Fantasy side story to wrap up one of the series' dangling plot threads. Because if Nomura isn't certain how often he'll come back to the Final Fantasy cast, at least one dangling plot thread has a proper conclusion. But with that story done, let's talk about the actual story of this DLC. Our titular Final Chapter Epilogue.
Holy cow, do we have a lot of ground to cover. As much as things are going to change with the story of the secret episode, there's also a lot we're actually keeping. For example, the secret episode opens with the original opening of Limit Cut, with Riku visiting Terra in the Land of Departure. What a great scene, finally getting to have the two boys talk and Terra reaffirming how much Riku has grown. What we are changing about this scene is that now, Kairi is also here talking with Aqua. Both her and Riku made a pit stop here to discuss with the Wayfinder trio their plan to find Sora, which the other three have their own plan in mind, involving another trip to the Realm of Darkness. The same beats apply from the original scene, but before they're ready to leave, Kairi and Aqua have a heart-to-heart about how Kairi is feeling and how the guilt of what happened to Sora is catching up to her. But Aqua, with newfound optimism, reassures Kairi that as long as she holds Sora close in her thoughts and her heart, he'll never be far, and that she will find him. Aqua and the other boys summon their armor and leave into a dark portal. As Riku comforts a still despondent Kairi, he gets a call on his gummy phone from Ienzo for the two to come see the scientist team in Radiant Garden, and quickly. Upon arriving, Ansem's study is in full speed mode with both Evan, Ienzo, and yeah, let's throw Demix in there too, appear to be working around the clock on something. This is when Ansem the Wise enters the room and lays out why the two of them are here.
Kairi, do you remember when Sora was asleep, and your heart connected to him through Roxas?
I do. It feels so long ago now.
That connection, I believe, between your heart and his, may be the key to finding him.
Finding Sora?
The process is quite simple. We will put Kairi to sleep, just as was done to Sora, allowing us to search the contents of her heart.
If our hypothesis is true, this will recreate the event that brought the two of you together before.
And will tell us directly where he is.
Riku is apprehensive as he worries that a process like that would take a long time and doesn't want Kairi to go through the same events that Sora did. However, both Evan and Ienzo ease his worries, that because the process doesn't involve messing with her memories like Sora, it will be a shorter time span. And regardless, Kairi is fully on board, as this is the first major lead they've had, and she's going to take it no matter the risk. Thus, hooking her up to the Tron-esque machine, Kairi is put to sleep, and...
Well, I don't know what I expected.
Yes, much like finishing the prologue to Kingdom Hearts 2, all of Sora's equipment and items have been transferred to Kairi for this upcoming secret boss. Like I said during part 4 with the Keyblade Graveyard segment, while it makes sense mechanically for Sora to be playable, thematically, it makes much more sense for Kairi to be playable. She has become the focal character with Sora gone, so it makes sense to continue her part of the story. And speaking of which, well, let's just jump into our next scene.
Where am I? It's so dark. Well, at least I'm still here. Anyone out there? Hello?
Hello?
Who's there? Where are you?
I could ask you the same thing. Do you see a light? If you do, walk toward it.
I see you.
I see you too. You know me?
I thought I did. You remind me of someone.
I get that a lot. My name is Yuzora. And you?
I'm Kairi.
Kairi. I know that name. You must be searching for him too.
Him? You mean, you know Sora?
Know him? No. But I've heard of him. If anything, I figured I'd be running into someone like you sooner or later.
So, you know who I am?
If you are who you say you are, then perhaps fate won't be as cruel as I thought.
What do you mean?
Just as I thought.
What's going on? What's with the weapon?
You're not the first person to come through here, Kairi. And you certainly won't be the last. I have to be the one to save Sora. He's the only one that can set things right.
Set things right? Please, this doesn't have to be this way. Can we just talk about this?
I'm sorry, but I don't lose.
Kairi, though hesitant, takes her battle stance and duels Yuzora. I find it fascinating to watch different mods where Kairi is the one fighting Yuzora, as her gameplay kit feels very right at home with how Yuzora feels as a boss fight. More than just on a story level, on a gameplay level, it looks and feels really appropriate for Kairi to be the one to take on Yuzora. And all of Yuzora's normal moves from the original game remain the same too. The only difference we're going to make here is that there is no two separate endings depending on whether you win or lose. Only one ending, and of course, it's when Kairi wins the fight.
That power. I knew I felt something different when we met. You must really care about him, huh? I hope we meet again, Kairi. Maybe then, you'll see the real me.
Yuzora. Yuzora? Ah, you're finally awake. I hope your dreams were pleasant.
Yeah, something like that. When do you think this is going to end?
Hard to say, sir. But from what I gather, I'm sure your luck is just about ready to turn around.
You always just know what to say, Raoul.
I do my best, Commander. Something the matter, Yuzora?
I don't know. I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real? Or not?
Yuzora is a very interesting topic of discussion when it comes to Kingdom Hearts' future. The character has barely had any screen time to be fully formed, and yet fans have already latched onto him pretty quickly. And the reason for that, to me, is not unfound when it comes to scenes like this. From what I and many other people have gathered, Nomura plans to recycle his old ideas from the cancelled Final Fantasy Versus 13, the game that would go on to become Final Fantasy 15, into Kingdom Hearts' Lost Master arc, specifically when it comes to details involving Yozora and the world of Verum Rex. I mean, the names of both Yozora and Noctis, the protagonists of Final Fantasy 15, literally translate to the same thing. I used to be very mixed on this, but over time, I've kinda warmed up to the idea. It's clear that Nomura had a lot of passion for his original ideas and didn't want them to go to waste, and while we're quite far away from how things will pan out, I'm genuinely curious to see how things will go. As such, I didn't really have a lot of changes that I wanted to make to Yozora's inclusion in the DLC. If anything, I just wanted to alter a couple things in terms of what his interaction with someone like Kairi would be, and maybe flesh out a couple ideas about why he needs to be the one to save Sora. And a minor thing, but also some changes to Yozora's personality were also on my mind. Nomura seems really hellbent on portraying Yozora as a mirror to Sora, so maybe some of Sora's sassiness and empathy should be on display as well, despite the potential terror his side of reality is facing. Either way, that's all I have for the secret ending, but that's not where things end. Since we end the story of this DLC with Yozora, Kairi's part in this is still unfinished, denoting this segment as a part 1 to her story. What's part 2?
What's happening? And just when things were going well.
Something's wrong. Shut it down.
So Melody of Memory was a cool game, huh? It's nice to have a small Kingdom Hearts game like this that can stand on its own as a fun little rhythm game with no real overarching plot. Well, until you get to the ending, of course. As such, we're not making any changes to the core game, and we'll only be touching the game's final moments. We pick up right where the secret episode left off, as Kairi has returned to the final world. She still gets flashes of her past in Radiant Garden and Terranort kidnapping her and putting her in the pod, and when she comes to, she has her confrontation with Master Xehanort. This scene is awesome. Kairi finally has a chance to stare down the man that has been screwing up her life from the very beginning and let loose on him, even if it is just a manifestation. And that's the important detail here. Xehanort is a manifestation of Kairi's insecurities and her fears about what has led to this point. She feels responsible for what happened to Sora, as she was the one who fell to Xehanort and indirectly forced Sora to make the sacrifice to bring her back. It is eating her up inside. And even more than how it was portrayed in the original scene, here, Xehanort is directly calling her out on it. The rest of the scene continues with Xehanort disarming Kairi and leaving her at his mercy, which leads to another major difference. Kairi summons Sora's Kingdom Key to defend herself, but she is the one who continues to wield it. This final boss is her battle to fight, but we still get to symbolize that Sora is there with her, and that she's not alone. After the fight with Xehanort, the same beats apply as he relays his info about the other side. Eventually, Kairi wakes up and tells everyone what happened. Here, Ansem hypothesizes the idea of a fictional world, and that this must be the realm Xehanort was referring to, and where that boy that Kairi met must be from. Riku notes that although they now know this, that still doesn't explain how they can get there. This is where the fairy godmother appears and reveals the method in which they can do so, taking the two of them to meet the nameless star. Everything else from this scene remains the same, up until Riku summons the portal to Quadratum. From here, one major change occurs.
It's up to you, Riku, to take care of the rest.
Kairi? Aren't you coming?
I'm not going with you, Riku.
Why not?
I know it was just an illusion, but Xehanort was right. I'm not as ready as I thought. I still need time to train, to get stronger. I can't let what happened to Sora happen again. Not on my watch.
Kairi.
It's okay, Riku. I know you're going to find him. And I'll be here, waiting and ready, when both of you return. For now, I'll go and explain everything to Master Yen-Sid and the others.
Okay. I'll be back soon. I promise.
This scene really frustrated me, but not for the reasons you think. To me, Kairi staying behind, I feel, was always going to happen, because I think there is a lot of growth for Kairi to have with more training, and especially if it's going to be under Aqua in the future. So my problem was not that Kairi stayed behind, hence why we're leaving it the way it is. The difference is that it is her choice to stay. In the original scene, Kairi was gung-ho to go get Sora with Riku, but you could feel the overarching plot trying to pull her back. It felt extremely contrived and immediately removed Kairi from any agency in the story. A story, by the way, in which she is technically the main character of. So my major change I wanted to make was to keep this scene but continue to give Kairi urgency as a character. We're continuing her character arc of wanting to become stronger while keeping Nomura's potential plan for the character intact. Developing Kairi's character further is not that hard. Like I say a lot about Kingdom Hearts, especially post Kingdom Hearts 3. There's a solid foundation, it just needs tweaking. And that's Melody of Memory. Yeah, I'm not touching the post-credits scene in Yensid's tower, as no changes need to be made here. The scene functions and explains everything it needs to pretty well, so no notes. However, there is one tiny detail that I haven't addressed yet, and while Kingdom Hearts 4 isn't out yet as of the making of this video, I am going to make a small addition to the game to officially smooth out this rewrite. Limit Cut's 1-year time skip. While I feel like time was definitely going to pass in Universe, the time skip in Limit Cut really didn't feel like it added anything of substance. Even the few comments from Riku don't really give the impression that any amount of time has passed, as I'd assume everything that the characters have been up to since Kingdom Hearts 3 would have happened immediately following that game's ending. However, with how Melody of Memory ends, it feels very appropriate that leading into the next major title that some time had passed, especially to show how much progress everyone could have made in their efforts to save Sora. And as a minor thing for any other games that did come before KH4, like the change we made to Melody of Memory, we would never physically see Sora until that game comes around, allowing for that passage of time to really be felt, so that everyone would have that healthy clamoring to see our hero of the Keyblade finally return.
So, I think that's everything. I think we've officially come to the end of rewriting Kingdom Hearts 3, for real this time. I've covered the entirety of the game, its DLC, and an extra game just to be thorough. Well, technically 2 games actually, but I'm getting sidetracked. This has been a very extensive and, like I said, thorough project, admittedly more so than it needed to be, but that's only because I love this game and this series and I wanted to give it the dedication that it deserves. Kingdom Hearts 3 has been something that fans, gamers, literally anyone who's been keeping up with the series for years on end has been looking forward to, so by that logic, everyone has had their own idea of how this game was supposed to turn out. So like, yeah, it's no wonder some people walked away from it feeling incredibly disappointed. And I feel for those people, and I have my own grievances with the game, but that's not why I wanted to make this series of videos. Like I've said plenty of times before, I love this game, and am overall pretty satisfied with where the series is heading right now with its story, but I know some people don't feel that way, and that's totally fine. The goal of this series was never to say that this game is bad and that my interpretation was going to be better, but more so, I wanted to change a couple things so that people who didn't like the game could see it the way that I do. Offering different perspectives on art isn't a bad thing. If anything, it leads to fun and interesting debates about the things that we like and dislike in our media. And I truly believe that Kingdom Hearts is surprisingly dense enough that it can offer those different perspectives to talk and debate about. This is becoming a huge tangent, but the point I'm trying to make is that this series was only ever made because of the passion and borderline obsession that I have with this franchise. It's going to keep growing so long as Nomura and team have a story to tell. And I, for one, can't wait to see where it goes next.